Guys, welcome back for another week of NFL Picks, Week 5, 2025, with your boy B.BUK and my man over here, Mr. Tom Ria Sports, coming up right now. There he is. Can you hear me, big dog?
I can hear you, Big Buck. How's it going?
What's good, Matt Eberflus? How you been?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. We had a pretty decent last week. Could have been better, but wasn't bad. So I'm feeling pretty good. How are you?
Doing great, brother. Doing great. Excited for another week of doing picks. Guys, doing even better that, like Tom said, we had a very solid week last week. And I do want to say special shout out and thanks to everyone who made last week's video our most viewed video of the NFL Picks series between me and my boy to date. Very excited about that.
Hell yeah. Appreciate the fans. Keep liking, keep commenting, keep subscribing. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. We want to hear it all. So let's keep it on.
For sure, man. And for sure, folks, guys, keep commenting, keep liking, keep subscribing. We do this for you guys. We do this for the love of the game, picking sports, and just talking football in general. So let us know what you think. Guys, quick recap of this pretty solid week last week. We both went 27 of 48 and 2 of 3 on our confident picks. We went 8 of 16 on the point spread and over-under, both of us, and 11 of 16 on the money line picks straight up out of all 16 games. Very, very solid. I'm happy with it. Really thought we were going to get that 30 mark, maybe even higher. We had one of the best starts ever from the Thursday, Sunday morning, and then 1 o'clock slate of games. Oh, man, we were like 20 of 27 or something like that. So, guys, if you were following the video, I hope you tagged along on some of those picks there, tailed us there. And then, obviously, after the 4 o'clocks, did kind of whatever. But nevertheless, very, very solid week, guys. Week 4, and now we are looking at Week 5 of the 2025 season of NFL, the first week that includes bye weeks for certain teams. So we are only picking 14 games this week, guys. 4 teams on a bye, which means less games to pick, more chances to get all of them right. If you're going to do whatever with your picks, bettings, or whatever's, this is when it starts. Anything else to add, Tom, before we jump into Week 5?
No, I think quick context, too. It's funny, we had the same results last week. We had a lot of different picks. Like, we had some similar ones, but it was kind of funny how we ended up on the same number. And it's also worth mentioning we went 4-6 out of our confident picks, right? So not bad, especially because we've been trying to add some flavorful ones, and we have some fun ones tuned up for this week. But very, very excited to get another week under our belt.
Guys, very, very happy and satisfied with last week. Let's try and make it better. Let's finally hit that 30 out of 48 picks right. I mean, this week, obviously not 48, but you know what I mean. At least 30 right. Try and get them all right for you guys. And let's see what we can do here, guys. You ready, brother?
Let's do it.
All right. Kicking us off for Week 5 of the 2025 NFL season with the Thursday night football game is the San Francisco 49ers at the LA Rams. Oh, man, this Niners team just keeps getting more hurt every single week, losing more people every week. Played a pretty decent game last week, but too many turnovers ended up killing them. Jags, with all respect to the Jaguars, they look pretty for real so far this year, playing very solid in their own right. I know Purdy's not playing. I know Pearsall's not playing. I know Jennings isn't playing. I know Kittle's not playing. I know Bosa's not playing. LA Rams on the other side of this coin, yeah, it's tough, man. LA Rams on the other side of this coin, though, looking like very serious Super Bowl contenders this early in the season. And it's at the LA Rams against a division rival. I'm going to go first because this is just wishful thinking. We'll let Tom go over the actual analytic, smart way of going about this game. But, guys, as a somewhat 49ers fan and as someone who, has taken crazy picks before in this series and has somehow been right, we beat the Cardinals without a couple people, and then we beat the Seahawks without a couple people. And I'm talking about the 49ers. Can we beat the Rams without a couple people? Actually, most of our actual starters? Probably not, but I am definitely going to give them the 8.5, the 8.5 points on the road because, who knows what Shanahan has up his sleeve, and maybe the backups will play with a little enthusiasm, try and keep this positive record start to the season alive. It's going to be a tough task against the Rams if they keep playing the way they're playing. But like we say with division rivals, guys, these guys game plan to play each other twice a year, so anything can happen. I actually do like them getting the 8.5 points, 2, 3, and 1 teams. As far as over 45.5, man, every time Mac Jones played, it was kind of low scoring, but I feel like the Rams can very easily put up 21, 22 points. I actually kind of like this over here, especially since the Niners defense is missing some pieces as well. Niners just kind of need to put up 20, and I feel like the Rams can put up like 25. You know what I mean? 26 points. I don't. It's gonna hurt me to say. Do I think the Rams can beat the Niners? Ooh. I'll get him. We'll get him. I know he wants me. He wants me to do it. I'm gonna take the Niners to upset the Rams here, guys, on the road to win. What do you think, Tom?
This is where everyone exits the video now. Look at that. We just lost all of our viewers. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, bud.
Oh man. Hey,
No,
anything's
I'm just kidding.
possible.
I'm kidding. I love the fandom. I love the honesty. And you warned everyone, right? You warned everyone. I actually agree with you on the. I'm not. Here's what I'm saying. I don't think the Niners cover 8.5 is that crazy of a pick. I really don't. Despite all the injuries, like we know how Thursday games go. They're always weird. We know how division games go. They're always interesting, right? Ultimately, I'm gonna pick a lot of stuff you're not gonna like, unfortunately. Just with the injuries, I think if it was two healthy teams, it'd be different. But I'm taking the Rams minus 8.5. I just really struggle to see who Mac Jones is going to throw the ball to, and they're just going to be so reliant on McCaffrey. Now he can do some things, and we'll see what happens. But I'm taking LA minus 8.5. I'm actually going to take the under. I still think Niners defense is solid, and they've done decently well throughout this point in the year. But I think they're just going to have trouble scoring more than the Rams will. So ultimately, that will give us. I'm thinking more of a 30 to 13 type of finish, something like that, maybe 27-14 type of finish for the Rams. So I'm taking the Rams money line. I'm taking the under 45.5, and I ultimately taking the Rams to win the game.
The Rams to win. Guys, moving on. Sunday at 9 a.m., we have another international game here. Vikings having to play 2 international games and stay overseas 2 in a row. I don't think that's ever happening before in NFL, and that's pretty crazy to think about. Feel bad for them.
I think it's the first time, and I think the Jaguars might do it this year as well, which is weird that the NFL is kind of making teams do this. But yeah, they're in England, and they were in Ireland last weekend, so very interesting.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, it was a somewhat tightly contested game. Me and Rhea called it to a T. Went 3 of 3 on the point spread, over, under, and money line. We picked the Steelers to beat the Vikings and the over to hit. Vikings had that huge defensive game a few weeks ago. This week, obviously, the Steelers played a little more for real, pulled a few tricks out the hat. Against the Browns, who honestly, in their own right, don't have too bad of a defense and have a solid rookie running back recently. I think the Vikings actually do right the ship a little bit this week, guys. I'm going to take the Vikings to win. Not by much, but, I am going to take the minus 4.5, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win by, like, maybe a touchdown, if that. I feel like it's a closer game than some people think. I think the Browns are going to look to show out and show up this week, with the international stage, all eyes on them. And Vikings, the same with that, right? They're got to make good on their wrong from last week, because they could have won that game as well. It was pretty close to the end. This over-under 35.5, man, they're predicting a defensive battle over here. I'm actually going to say over. Last week's went over. I know I was joking about, it's an international game. They have to draw attention, draw eyes, make it exciting. But I think both of these teams can put up over 35.5 together, even with their circumstances and backups playing. What do you think, Tom?
I'm actually with you on all three. I like the Vikings minus 4.5. I like the over 35.5. And I like the Vikings money line. I know Cleveland's got the rookie QB, and maybe there's a little bump in that with Dylan Gabriel starting as far as just like team morale, whatever. But it's a long travel for them. Vikings have been in Europe for less, week and a half now, so maybe they're more acclimated to the time zone and everything that goes with that. And they come off a tough loss last week where they really didn't show up till late in the game. So yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota. I think they win this one semi-comfortably, like you said, around a touchdown, and we're in line on all three there.
All right, guys, moving on into the 1 o'clock slate of games for Sunday. And, guys, there's only 6 1 o'clock games this week with the bye week. So keep that in mind if you're a parlay person or, you're just focusing on a certain time slot or a certain game. Tom, let me take this one real quick because I know you probably have a lot to say about this one. Guys, I love what I saw with the Giants last week. Definitely the new QB added a spark to the team. Very shame. It's a bad shame about Neighbors. one of the superstar wide receivers in the league. But, the team keeps rolling. I like what they're doing with Scadaboo. I love the defensive line. Shout out Brian Burns for leading the league in sacks right now with 5. And Dart played pretty with reckless abandonment, just like his attitude. And you know what? That's what the Giants needed, a little switch up, and it got them a dub against an undefeated Chargers team. With that said, if they can do that again, I think they can beat the Saints. So I'm going to take the Giants to win outright. I'm going to give them the 1.5 points. Saints, they still have pieces, and they played the Bills very good last week. They put up like 30 points against the Bills. And like I said, they've been playing every team this year. They're not as bad as they've been predicted to be. I know their record doesn't reflect that, but they have been putting up points with Rattler, Olave, and Kamara and Johnson. But, defense is still a problem, and I think that's where the difference in this game is. I think the Giants' defensive line might hold their own against the Saints, and it'll give Dart just enough time to put up, 20, 30 points, and that could seal the deal for it. Do I think it goes over 42.5? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think the Giants could put up 25 to 30 points, and I think the New Orleans Saints can put up at least 20. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, again, very much in line. The Saints, it was funny, before the Bills game last week, they were, I think, 16-point underdogs. I think we both ended up taking the Bills, but there was a lot of nerves, especially after they got killed in Seattle. It's like, will they get killed like that twice? And I know you mentioned they scored 30, but they actually only scored like 19-20, but they were in the game, right? Like
they were
in that game for the most part. They only ended up losing by like 10. And with all that being said, I think them at home is interesting. This game opened as Giants minus 1.5. And within a matter of a day or two, it flipped to Saints minus 1.5. So there's been a lot of action going on here. This one's similar to you with your Niners-Rams. I'm kind of going with my heart here. I just feel like the Giants are a better team based on what I've seen. And I think if they're playing to their potential, they should win this game. Although it is on the road, it will be a tough environment for Dart. Even if the Saints aren't a great team, no neighbors really hurts, right? It's going to affect a lot of things. But I trust the Giants offensively, and more importantly, I trust them defensively. And I think they'll win this game. So I'm taking them plus 1.5. I'm taking the money line. The over-under here is a little tougher. Everything's telling me over, but you never know with these games. I'm going to say the over 42.5, but it's not going to be one of my confident picks. I just get a lot of reminiscent thinking of Giants-Saints games in New Orleans in the past that were always high scoring.
That is true.
I'm going to ride with this over 42.5, Giants plus 1.5, and I think Giants get the win and move to 2-3 and 2-0 in the Jackson Dart era.
I feel like it's two teams that play each other pretty often. I hate to say I feel like the Saints have had the Giants number recently, but two teams that end in NTS versus each other. And hey, I hate to toot our own horn here, guys, but I do feel like it's worth noting. Last week in our most viewed video ever, the Week 4 2025 NFL picks, I did say, this line's a little suspicious. The Chargers and the Giants game, the Chargers were only favored to win by 6, and they were undefeated, and the Giants didn't even win a game. Guys, you have to, after being this game for as long as me and Tom have, we're picking these games just by what we're seeing so far throughout the season and just for fun and for our analysis of all these teams. If you're serious into betting and lines and you really want like value and like look for every edge you can, something about that line jumped off the page to me last week. And you could watch the video if you don't believe me. I was like, this line's a little smaller than it should be. Why is that? You know what I mean? What do they know that we don't know? And the Giants ended up winning. So I do remember saying that in the video last week, guys. Just little stuff like that, it could give you the edge.
And we both took Giants plus 6, right? So it panned out for us last week.
Yep. You did. Yep, you did. But I remember you did, and I remember saying it. I was like, this is weird. I feel like it could be minus 10. You know what I mean? And look at that. Giants ended up winning. All right, just thought I'd throw that out there. Guys, moving on. Las Vegas Raiders, Tom's second favorite team, against the Indianapolis Colts. Man, your Raiders are my Panthers. Every time you pick them, they fucking disappoint us. And then, same with me and the Panthers. But, guys, Vegas Raiders, who played a very, very good game. Their defense looks incredible, by the way. I love Crosby's a savage. He's a game wrecker in his own right, just like Hutchinson is for the Lions. But we got Raiders at the Colts. Colts held their own against the Rams. I thought they were going to crumble. I thought they weren't even going to do as good as they did. But you know what? They played a pretty solid game. And that tells me that the Colts might be somewhat for real this year, guys. I think the Colts can get through the Raiders handily this week at home. I think the Colts win. Do I think they win by more than 7? Yeah, I'm sorry, Raiders fans, but unfortunately I do. As far as over under 47.5, touch bit high for me, I feel like. I feel like this game might actually go under and end around like 40 to 44 range. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, you made a good point about the Raiders defense, and some people might think differently, look at some numbers, whatever, but, I watched them last week, and then the Chargers game. I mean, Geno really has hurt them, right, with his turnover. I mean, I think he had 3 picks last week. He had a bunch of picks. He's got to lead the league in interceptions. I'm just saying off the top of my head. I don't know. I've not even looked at the numbers, but I can confidently say he's leading the league in picks just based off the few games I've seen. They're not a great team. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs, neither did you, I don't think, right? Like, we're not that high on them, but I felt like they were kind of building something with B. Carroll there and, drafting Genty and some of the young receivers, adding Geno, a veteran QB, but it seems like they just keep kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Now, on the Colts, they played much better than I thought they would against the Rams. I mean, they should have really won that game. Jonathan Taylor had a touchdown called back. Adonai Mitchell had a freaking, I don't know if you've seen it, but a really bad fumble going into the end zone where he basically just lost the ball with nobody around him, and it turned into a touchback. Excuse me. So it was a game that they could be very well 4-0 and coming off a win in LA would have been something. But I think they're legit, and I think they're going to come back, and I think they're going to win this game pretty handily. I do. I think they're going to win by a touchdown or more. I think they'll get the running game going. And as long as Daniel Jones, doesn't turn the ball over and they make enough plays defensively, I think they'll be just fine. I do think the over is going to hit here, though. I think it's going to be a bit of a high-scoring game. I think either Raiders will get garbage time points or this one will be close till the end, and that'll lead to some points being scored. So this is a tough one to call. Definitely not one that's going to my confident picks, but I'm going to go Colts minus 6.5 over 47.5, and then obviously Colts money line.
Oh, okay. Well, on my paper written down, they're -7, so maybe a little bit of late money coming on the Raiders there. Shout out Jamal Adams and that Raiders defense finding the fountain of youth. And where's Anthony Richardson? Somewhere in the Australian Football League right now? He's never coming back? Yeah, I guess they just forgot about him.
He's keeping the bench warm. Hopefully he gets another chance, but he's keeping the bench warm right now.
Guys, one that jumps off the page to me, you're not going to want to hear this. We got the Denver Broncos at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles finding a way to win every week. Broncos finally starting to, turn around this year and look a little better in recent weeks, defensively and offensively. I think this might be the week, guys. I think this might be the week. I'm taking the Broncos to upset the Philadelphia Eagles on the road. Not real much rhyme or reason, except that I like the way the Broncos have played the last 2 weeks. And I feel like the Eagles aren't going to go undefeated, you know what I mean, the entire year. So this might be one of those games. Just my thoughts on it for whatever that's worth. I do like the over 43.5. I don't think it's going to blow it out the water, but I do think, it can go over 43.5. Both these pretty very good offenses, I should say. And since I'm taking them to win, obviously I'm going to give them the 3.5 points. Eagles, amazing team, but Broncos starting to find themselves this year. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm surprised you took Denver, though, just because when I think back in Denver, they probably should have beat LA, which would have been a good win, but their only 2 wins right now are against Cincy last week. That was a horrible game to watch without Burrow. And then the Titans with a rookie quarterback, right, week 1. So they haven't had the most impressive start. They had a lot of hype coming into the season, but I think Philly's just so tough, man, especially at home. They don't lose much. I think they're 19 or 20-1 in their last, 20 games.
Wow.
Pretty absurd numbers, including the playoffs. Absurd stuff. And Hurts seems to, the second half they didn't complete a pass, but first half they were throwing the ball all over the place. So I think they can win a lot of different ways. So I'm going to take Philly at home minus 3.5. I'm going to take the over as well on this game, 43.5, and I'm going to take Philly money line.
Okay. We'll see what happens. Dallas Cowboys at the New York Jets. 2 teams that basically need to keep their season alive on offense, I should say. I feel like they have to score points. The defense just has not been there for either of these teams. Shout out Eberflus. What's it called? He ain't gonna have a job much longer, I'll tell you that. New York Jets, man, they didn't start too good against the Dolphins, the pretty putrid Dolphins, even though they've been a little better. And everyone's been running rampant and throwing rampant against this Cowboys absolutely Swiss cheese defense. Man, I can't pick the Jets because when I pick them, they lose. And guess what? When I don't pick them, they still lose. So there's a consistency there with the New York Jets. They might never win a game this whole season. I feel like with that said, I like Fields. The pieces are there on offense. Hall, Allen. Obviously, you got to get Wilson the ball more. He had a touchdown last week that I guess they didn't call a touchdown. It was a beautiful catch, crazy catch. But the Cowboys did look pretty decent against a pretty solid team in the Packers on Sunday night. Um, Even though it's on the road in the Jets, I think the Cowboys beat the Jets. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Jets fans, but, it's a pretty weird game unless they somehow have a shootout and make it entertaining. 47.5. Well, first of all, I would think I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 2.5 as well. I think they win by more than a field goal against the Jets. And as far as over under 47.5, I hate to do it, but guys, I'm going to take the over. I think both these teams can put up 24 points. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, this isn't. So you had me laughing a couple times there. I'm not gonna lie. Listen. The Jets think like there's no other way around it. They shoot themselves in the foot. They get bad penalties and turn the ball over. What did Breece Hall say? He said when other people shoot themselves in the foot, we shoot ourselves in the head. I mean, that was a quote of the century right there. But I think this would be a potential get-right game, something to be careful of, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys minus 2.5 on the road. I think they're just a better team at this point in time. They're not a great team. Neither team is great, but I just think they're better than the Jets at this point. I am going to zag, though, and I'm going to take the under 47.5, and that might come back to bite me, but this seems like one of those where everyone's zigging. I'm going to zag and change it up a little bit, and I'm going to take the under 47.5 in this game, and I'm going to take the Cowboys money line on the road.
Cowboys want to, guys. Even though it's a pick 'em, that at least for me, I feel like that's a tough one to pick. So be wary, be careful of that game.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an ugly one.
All right, guys. Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. Man, without Jackson, how the mighty have fallen. Because look at this. Now the Ravens, even though their record, isn't the greatest, we're supposed to be Super Bowl favorites going into the season. They're underdogs at home now without Jackson playing against the one-win Houston Texans. When I look at this game, guys, I think, obviously if they're giving the Ravens more points, I'd do it even with a backup QB. Their defense has just not looked good, the Ravens. I feel like if there was ever a week for the Texans offense to get right, this might be it. Obviously, they still have Henry. They still have the decent tight ends. They have a good receiving core. They have a chance of winning this game, but I am going to say if the Texans play decent, no turnovers on offense, and that defense does their thing, they should win this game. So I'll take the Texans on the road against the Ravens. Even up the score there, have the Texans, if they beat the Ravens, will have more wins than the Ravens through 5 weeks, which is incredible to think about. Texans minus 1.5. And then as far as over under 40.5, guys, this might sound crazy, but just like I was saying, read the lines last week. When I see this line, I feel like it might actually go under. You may look at that and think, 40.5, that's easy to go over. I could see the Texans win this game like 27-10, something like that. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, do you want me to read the injury report for Baltimore? Because it's rough. I mean, they have a laundry list of guys: Kyle Hamilton, Chidobe Awuzie, Nate Wiggins, Kyle Van Noy, Tyler Linderbaum, Lamar, Roquan Smith, Patrick Ricard, Matt B.BUK. Like, their team is banged up. I like a team that I can remember seeing. It is rough, and they're 1-3 already. It's a desperate game for them. You don't want to be 1-4, especially at home, but I can't imagine. It's hard for me to pick a team with that many injuries to win. It'd be really impressive for them to do so. Now, they are playing the Texans, who've been inept offensively. That maybe they found a little something last week. Maybe it was just because they played the Titans. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and take Houston. I'm with you. I'm going to take them minus 1.5 on the road. They just have more bodies at this point, right? And they have, hopefully found a little something offensively. So I'm going to take the minus 1.5, and I'm going to take the under 40.5 here, which is a little bit crazy. Even me just saying it out loud, I'm like, don't love it, but I'm going to take the under. I think this game ends up being like a 20-10 type of game, or 20-17, something around that range. where it just hits the under, and then I'm going to take Houston on the money line.
Houston on the money line, man. All right, guys. Miami Dolphins at the Carolina Panthers. Dolphins, even though they lost Hill, sorry to hear about that, looked pretty good last week. Achane got going. Defense had a few turnovers. Tua was finding Waddle here and there. And as far as the Panthers, man, which one are we going to get every week? You know what I mean? Some weeks they look decent. Some weeks they look like the worst team in the league. Guys, I know you. I say it every week, and here we go again. I think the Panthers do beat the Dolphins at home this week. If there was ever a week against a somewhat softer secondary and defense, the Panthers should be able to throw the ball and run the ball this week. I actually do like this over a lot. I think this game can very easily go over 45.5. I have no problem with the Dolphins scoring 20 points. My only problem is going to be the Panthers scoring 20 points. But I think it can go over 45.5. And then since I'm taking the home underdogs to win, obviously I'm going to give them the 1.5 points. But Dolphins did look pretty good in that Monday night game. What do you think, Tom?
They did, and they looked pretty good in the Thursday night game a week and a half ago, right?
That's true.
2 weeks ago now.
Against the Bills.
I'm going to take the Dolphins minus 1.5. We talked about this one before recording. I feel good about it. I know Tyreek Hill's out, but they got a newfound weapon, one of my all-time favorite guys, Darren Waller. So I think that'll help spark the offense a little bit. Their run game has seemed to get better and better as the week's gone on. So I like Miami minus 1.5 on the road. I like the over. I think Carolina can score some points at home. So I think 45.5 is doable here. And then obviously I'm taking Miami on the road to get another win and get to 2-3.
It's a pretty cool game there. All right, guys, moving on to 4 p.m., the Tennessee Titans at the Arizona Cardinals. Titans, I'm not going to capitalize the T in your team's name until you get a win, all right? I'm just letting you know right now. Right now, you're the Tinies. And then Arizona Cardinals, guys, not playing too bad so far this year. I know they just lost to the Seahawks last week, but now they have a little more extra preparation against a team that doesn't even have a win so far. Titans, you're putting the pieces there. You have a young up-and-coming receiver, and the defense still has somewhat pieces, even though they've been letting up a lot more points recently. But I think the Cardinals can win this one handily. I'm going to take the Cardinals at home to win this game. I'm going to take them to win it by more than 7.5 if things go right. As far as over-under 42.5, I think it goes over, guys. I actually think it goes over this week. I know the Cardinals don't really have a running back. Even their backup got hurt. But if they sling the ball to Harrison, Kyle River does his thing with the feet. And then if the Titans can put up at least 15, 20 points, I think it can go over 42.5. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, this one's tough because this is like, the Titans aren't going to have many chances to win games this year. Let's just call it what it is. Now they're going in Arizona. Arizona has a tricky defense. Arizona has had some extra time to prepare. I'm going to take Arizona minus 7.5. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to take the over 42.5 as well. So we're going to go with Arizona money line. We're going to go with Arizona minus 7.5. But I think this game is going to end up in that 7 to 10 range ultimately. So be very careful, folks. Maybe tease it if you can get it at Arizona 4.5, 3.5, 5.5. Feel better about that than 7.5. But ultimately, I'm going to ride with what we got here. We don't have teasers afforded to us in our picks. So we're going to go Arizona minus 7.5. We're going to go with the over, and we're going to go with Arizona money line, of course.
Dude, we would have won our over-under pick for last week's Seahawks-Cardinals game, ended at 43, and we had the over 43.5. Obviously, if we would have just had half a point, we'd be looking at a 28 pick correct week. All right, guys. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Seattle Seahawks. I'll let you go first with this one, bro.
This is a good game.
Great game.
Good game. Two solid teams. A lot of talent. I know Bucky Irving may not play, unfortunately, for me and my fantasy teams. But,
what about Evans?
Ibuka's come on strong. Godwin's back. I still worry about Tampa's O-line a little bit. That game against Philly was interesting last week. They made it interesting at the end, but gave up too many points early on. So I'm going to take Tampa plus 3.5 here.
Wow.
I think they can give Seattle some trouble, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win the game. So this one's a really tough one for me to pick. I think this game could go either way. Two good teams, two potentially playoff teams, but I like Tampa plus 3.5. I also like the over 44.5 on this one, and then I'm going to take Seattle money line. So We're going to take Seattle to get the win at home in a tough environment, but I think Tampa will keep the game close, plus 3.5.
Dude, I'm with you with all three phases here. Guys, first of all, when I look at this game, I'm like, oh, Seahawks should beat them handily. I feel like the smarter play would maybe be giving Tampa the points because even with their injuries, that team can put up points at will, and the defense isn't bad. Seahawks have had a pretty easy schedule recent weeks. This is going to be a tough test for them this week. We'll see how they handle it. I like the over 44.5, like Tom said as well. And I am taking the Seahawks to win because technically they should, but I would not be surprised if Tampa somehow upsets them here on the road.
Yeah, me neither. Absolutely not.
All right, guys. Detroit Lions getting another 2 weeks in a row minus double-digit favorites against the Bengals in Cincinnati, though. And then obviously over-unders 49.5, which is very high for this Bengals offense, which just cannot seem to get it going, man. Any which way. Browning doesn't even look confident. They should just switch up QBs at this point, and give themselves a better shot. I'm going to take the Lions to win. There's no reason they shouldn't unless some crazy miracle happens for the Bengals. Lions have looked pretty solid in recent weeks. As far as over under 49.5, what do they think? Lions are going to score 45 points themselves? That's crazy, man. I'm gonna take the under. I know this one might come back and bite me, but it's a tad bit high for me. Looking at a team that's putting up 3, 6, maybe 10 points on their best game in recent weeks. And then as far as Lions winning by 10.5, believe it or not, I actually think they can do it. So I'm gonna take the Lions minus 10.5. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, man, I mean, it's a good point. I can't believe how bad Browning-led offense has been after what he did a couple of years ago. I thought we'd see a lot more out of them, but I feel like this will be the game where they keep it close finally after I picked them the last couple of weeks, but I'm not going to go with them anymore. They've hurt me too many times as far as spread goes, so we're going to go Lions minus 10.5. I felt that they were one of the best teams in football. I wasn't fazed by the Packers' hot start. I picked the Lions to win this division, so I'm riding with them. I got them minus 10.5. I'm going to take the under 49.5 as well. And then obviously that leaves us with Lions money line.
That's my line. Commanders Chargers, guys. This is an interesting game because Chargers are coming off a loss after their hot start, and the Commanders with Mariota kind of haven't really missed a beat. But this week, Jaden Daniels, the offensive rookie of the year, is back to play for the Washington Commanders. This is a fun game, guys. It's going to be a pretty close, interesting game. I can see why the line is what it is. First things first, if things go right, I really like the over 47.5. Something my gut's taking it, so I'm going to circle it. But be wary that the Chargers have a pretty decent defense. Chargers, I think they do get right this week. I think maybe they squeak one out here, and maybe Daniels is rusty. But I think for whatever reason, the Chargers win this one at home, which would be a pretty good feather in their hat, notch in their belt, because Commanders with Daniels are no joke. And then since I'm going to take them to win, do I think they win by more than 2.5, the Chargers at home? Yeah, I think they do. I think they win by maybe 5, maybe a touchdown. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line with you. I think the Commanders, the one thing is, Jay Daniels is back, but keep an eye on their receiving core. I mean, all their main guys, McLaurin, Noah Brown, Debo, were all in the injury report, all questionable. McLaurin didn't play last week. Like you said, their offense has played okay with Mariota and still, but some questionable things there. Their defense hasn't been great the last couple weeks. So I think it's a tough one for them, especially against a Chargers team that just lost a game they probably were expecting to win or hoping they'd win against a rookie quarterback. So I'd imagine they're trying to get things right, especially at home. I have a tough time seeing Harbaugh losing back-to-back winnable games, in my opinion. So I'm going to take the Chargers minus 2.5. I think they do get it right at home. I'm going to take the under 47.5. I think their defense continues to play better than it did last week, and good for how it's done most of the season. And ultimately, I'm going to take Chargers, obviously, to win this game at home and move to 4-1.
Dude, I feel like you were the one who told me before the season started, and you picked it in our Week 1 video, the Patriots to go to the playoffs, and I did not know where you were coming from. I didn't believe you. You know more than most of us. You start this game here with division rivals in the AFCs.
I did pick the Patriots. You're right. I did pick them to make the playoffs. I thought they had a pretty weak schedule. Now they lost that opening game against the Raiders, which hurt things. But they're 2-2. They've gotten the wins that they were supposed to against Miami and Carolina. Last week was terrible. As far as quality of game, they blew out them, and they probably should beat the Steelers. The Patriots, they had too many turnovers that week. But all that being said, not picking them to win this week. I'll tell you that much. I am picking them to cover, though. The
Ooh.
8.5 number is kind of high to me. I think a Vrabel coach team, a team that's motivated, this is kind of their chance to prove to people like yourself and others that maybe weren't exactly high on the Patriots or sure what they would be, and now they're in prime time. So I like their odds here as far as plus 8.5. I think that's a good pick on the road against a Bills defense that's been a bit shoddy. And because of that, I'm going to take the over 49.5 as well. I think some points will be scored here. Drake May's look pretty good for the most part, but I am going to take the Bills money line. I think this game will be pretty tight, pretty high scoring, somewhere in the high 20s, low 30s, but I am going to take the Bills to win, Patriots to cover. What you got for me?
Dude, I'm with you on all three because I didn't like the way the Bills let the Saints stick around last week, and the Drake May-led Patriots with Mike Vrabel have looked very surprisingly good this year. 49.5 is a tad worrying to me, but I think last week's Saints-Bills game went over that too, so there's no reason this one shouldn't as well. I do think the Bills somehow win at home, though, on Sunday night. Monday Night Football, guys, Kansas City Chiefs finding their groove against another team that's shocking a lot of people with a very solid defense and a great start is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this game's in Jacksonville. Curious to hear what you think, Tom. Let's make it quick.
Yeah, also, good call. You're right on the Saints-Bills game last week. I think it was 31-19, so they scored about 50 points total. So, yeah, that game could go over. This one definitely could. Just wanted to give you your props there. But Chiefs-Jaguars. This one was probably one of the harder ones for me to pick because nobody believed in the Chiefs a week or two ago. Now everyone's convinced that they're back and they're going to be better than ever, especially when Rashee Rice comes back next week and they're figuring things out with Worthy back in the lineup. Jaguars are 3-1. Some people question, are they fraudulent? Are they not? But their defense has gotten 3 or more takeaways every week. I don't expect that to continue, especially against a Mahomes-led offense. So I'm going to take the Chiefs minus 3.5 here on the road. I think they ride that momentum from a big win at home against Baltimore, and I think they are going to get the win here. But I'm going to take the under the 46.5 here too. I think both these defenses are pretty solid for the most part. So I do think this will be a relatively tight game. I think the Chiefs will squeak it out by 5-7, but I'm going to take the Chiefs minus 3.5 and the Chiefs money line on the road in Jacksonville.
Dude, I loved what you said about the under because, honestly, when I'm looking at these teams, as good as the Jaguars have started, Trevor Lawrence, Hunter, and Brian Thomas Jr., the way they started, it's going to be tough for them to play that way against the Chiefs defense and find the win. So that defense is really going to have to step up. So I kind of do like that under. I'm going to take that one. Guys, I don't feel too confident about any of these picks on this game, but something in my gut is telling me the Jaguars might upset the Chiefs this week at home, which is crazy because if you look in history, I'm sure they haven't beat them in a long time. But I'm taking the Jaguars to win at home, underdogs. Both of them continue on. What, they're going to be 4-1 if they get this win against, amazing Chiefs. So let's see how this game ends up. Guys, we're going to do our confident picks for you here before the video ends. Tom this week is going with, Where's the game at? Chargers. There they are. Chargers minus 2.5 against the Commanders. The Cardinals money line, where they are right here. Cardinals money line. This is Tom's confident picks. And then Dolphins minus 1.5. Dolphins are right here against the Panthers. Guys, my confident picks this week are the Colts money line against the Raiders. I like the Cowboys-Jets game to go over. And then I like the Giants to win outright against the Saints. Tom, before we end, I do have to say one thing real quick. I tallied them all up, the over-unders for every game up to this point. Can you guess which one has hit more, over or under?
Oh, me. Oh, okay.
Just in general.
Season-wise, yeah. I'm going to say, the first few weeks were a lot of unders. The last few weeks were a lot of overs, which is interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and say unders, more unders.
You're right, but guess what the record is? 32 unders have hit so far this year compared to 31 overs. That's a little sketchy to me, but really crazy that it's that close this far into the season.
I told you, bro, the first few weeks were a lot of unders, and the last couple weeks have been more overs. So that's typical, right? For those who know, the seasons typically start with the defenses being a little more ahead, and then the offenses catch up. But yeah, that's good insight, man. Thanks for doing that research.
All right, guys, we got to go. Time's cutting short. Good luck this week to all of you guys, all of your teams. Can't wait till next week. Hopefully we have a great week. Tom, love you, brother. Good luck to everything, brother. Hope you're good.
Yep, remember, guys, bet with your head, not over your head.
That's it. We'll see you guys again next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great week, everyone. Be safe.